Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
Breaking news, a pursuit of an armed carjacking suspect. Let's go up to Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal. Des?
Here we go, Juan. LA's latest pursuit was just around LAX on the westbound 105. Now they're just doubled back and headed eastbound now away from the airport. So we're eastbound on the 105, about 70 miles an hour, waiting to hear how many people are in the car, but I think that there may be multiple. They were saying carjacking suspects, plural, and armed. So that definitely throws a pretty big wrench into the plans as far as how the authorities want to shut this one down. We're dealing with LAX as well as Hawthorne Airport here, so just bear with us a second while we get in position. Speed's starting to pick up now, about 90 miles an hour, up to 100 now on this one. So we haven't heard about where this began. It's LA County Sheriff's deputies that are in pursuit right now. We'll see if they hand this off to CHP since we've been on the freeway for a bit. We thought that they were going to try to lose the authorities around LAX, a very, very common tactic, but that was not what ended up happening. So now we are just flying along here eastbound on the 105 with armed carjacking suspects here as we make our way through Hawthorne. Juan and Mike.
Yeah, another high-speed pursuit, Desmond. We had one last night. We have this one tonight. How does traffic look on the 105 right now? Is it in his favor right now, the driver?
Yes, definitely in his favor as I'm looking ahead. It doesn't look like there's really going to be any issue as far as traffic goes for this suspect. We'll see if there's any Caltrans work that gets set up. I don't see any of that either. So we're getting a really good look here with the spotlight. So we can definitely see someone in the passenger seat. So at least two in this vehicle. It doesn't look, and you know, this is actually a rarity that we don't have the really dark tints on this vehicle, but we know there's two there. I don't think I see anybody in the back. So a rare, pretty good look inside of this vehicle. Looks like two people inside. Again, believed to be armed and dangerous, and that's LA County Sheriff's deputies helicopter overhead, I believe, on this one. Quite a few units hanging back on this one. In fact, it looks like they may have turned off their lights and sirens at the moment, so I wonder if they're kind of going into surveillance mode on this one. Even when they're in surveillance mode with sheriff's deputies, they usually keep their spotlight on the vehicle, even though the units in the back tend to kind of drop out. So that may be what they're doing right now. And we'll see what the suspect does next as we make our way towards the 110 Harbor Freeway.
Indeed, and right now, speed 65 miles an hour or so. Mike Rogers on the desk. I know you're monitoring police scanner information. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, right now I'm listening to the California Highway Patrol, who's getting involved in this as well.
All right, Mike is making sure that his mic is locked and loaded there as we continue to see this pursuit now. Through Inglewood, Mike, take it away.
Yeah, California Highway Patrol, they are trying to get units involved in this. As Desmond mentioned, we've been on the freeway for a little while now. We went westbound on the 105 and then popped back around LAX, which we thought they were going to go north. Even the police helicopter at one point told the ground units, look, if he goes north on the 405, it's going to be a problem for us because that is the very critical airspace of LAX. But got off on some surface streets in the El Segundo area and then back on the eastbound 105 where we are now. And I do hear the California Highway Patrol, their South LA office, is trying to get units in position to take this over from the Sheriff's Department. Now, what we're working on finding out right now from the sheriffs is if this was what's called a fresh carjacking. Did this just occur, or was this a situation where they ran the license plates and this is something that happened before just now? That's what happened last night. Remember, we had that chase in Lomita where they ran the plate and the plate came back to a felony, wanted felony person, and that's when they started chasing them. So we're working on getting that from the Sheriff's Department right now and figuring out if this is happened today. What's the status of the victim that was carjacked? Was anybody injured? Those are all the things we're trying to find out.
And another question, is the victim in the passenger seat right now perhaps being taken on a ride, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the possibility. We always kind of assume that it's a suspect in there, but it is also a very real possibility that it's somebody who is does not want to be there. And as Des, we're blacked out now on the 105.
Desmond?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I was just communicating with my pilot here. We're just waiting to see if CHP is going to get involved in this one. So we passed the 110 now, so we're making our way past South LA. And, you know, we're looking at these speeds here. Still kind of between the speed limit and up to 100 miles an hour. Using the blinker, even though the lights are off. Kind of a strange one. We had the lights off in most of the pursuit last night as well. We definitely have better weather conditions than we had yesterday. Last night, this time around this area, we wouldn't have been able to cover this pursuit because there was so much cloud layer. But we have clear skies tonight, so not going to be a factor for this one. And so if CHP decides to scramble their
CHP.
fixed-wing aircraft out of Fullerton for this one, that'll be easy for them as well. But now, yeah, we do see the authorities getting involved in this one. Looks like the Highway Patrol. So it looks like they are taking this one over, which means that kind of similar to last night, we should probably see their aircraft get involved as well coming out of Fullerton. But it's still sheriff's deputies overhead and now CHP on the ground. And now that there is a unit directly behind this person, we'll see how they handle that. If they get a little crazy and drive kind of wild like they were driving last night, or if they're just going to kind of keep hanging around at these fairly consistent speeds.
Yeah. Desmond, Mike, do you see him, the passenger, sticking his hand or his head out the window?
Yeah, that's what control room just pointed that out to me as well. There's the passenger. It looked like his head, maybe his hand and his head at one point. Not clear if he was looking back at somebody or what he was doing, but I think, Des, as you mentioned, this is one of the ones that we don't have that crazy dark tint. We were actually able to see inside to see that there was a passenger in there. And again, if they're both suspects or if one's a victim, that'll be something that they're going to have to figure out. But yeah, CHP from the South LA office now taking over.
And we continue here eastbound on the 105. So next we'll be at the 710 and the 605, and they're going to be forced off to make a decision here, either to the north or south 605 if they stick with this, or at the Studebaker off-ramp where the 105 ends. But CHP is right there behind them now, so they're definitely not in any kind of tracking mode. They seem to be pretty actively trying to pull this person over, and we'll see how aggressive they want to get with the tactics if they believe that this person is armed. Probably not going to see a pit maneuver, not likely to see some spike strips either. So it's kind of tough to say how they're going to handle this. It would certainly help if there wasn't much gas in the car, but this one's been going, for a pretty decent amount of time now, as CHP is now the lead agency, and we'll be at the 710 here shortly.
And other than, driving at high rates of speed, the headlights being off at times, this driver's been using the blinker to get in and out of the car lane, or the carpool lane, which is interesting, especially there he is again using that blinker, knowing that he is being pursued by the California Highway Patrol for what we're hearing is an armed carjacking. And again, we know this person is armed with a weapon, or at least it's believed to be. So of course, the situation keeps getting more and more serious here as we continue down the 105 eastbound in the Compton area. We're just passing there, the Norwalk exit, as you saw right there from the overhead signs on the freeway. And the California Highway Patrol basically mirroring his moves, moving with him lane by lane, and making sure that, there's no way that this driver does not know that they want him to pull over. And Desmond, he's getting into that extreme right lane. Is he transitioning? What's going on?
Yeah, it looks like I think we're going to be making the transition here to the southbound 710 if they continue. And it had the blinker on for quite some time. Yeah. Not really making any kind of serious attempt to escape on this one. And so this is the ramp that's going to take us to that southbound 710 down towards the ports and downtown Long Beach. Yeah, just really strange. They're driving, frankly, kind of, civil compared to what we've seen in other pursuits, especially the one last night that was over 100 miles an hour almost the entire time. So kind of weird, and then, using the blinker, and that's kind of changing lanes for no reason. So, what is the plan here? Are they just trying to buy a little time before they surrender? Pretty common. It's just so strange how sometimes we just see these pursuits go on and on and on, and then all of a sudden they just end almost without incident, with the suspects just getting up and throwing their hands up and giving up. So I wonder if they're just kind of running out the clock a little bit here, maybe making some phone calls, because really no serious attempt that we've seen so far of this suspect trying to get away, just refusing to bring it to an end. It looks like they're just dragging this out as long as they can.
It sure is. Well, I know Mike Rogers just got off the phone. Mike, what do you have?
So I just talked to the watch commander over at Century Station. They're the ones that were in this pursuit originally. This is a fresh carjacking. This happened in the Linwood area about an hour ago at a gas station. The watch commander there, the lieutenant, tells me that the suspects forced a person out of their car. He doesn't know what the weapon was, but there is a weapon involved in this, they believe. Forced the person out of their car and took off. Both of the people in the car are both suspects. This is not a situation where one of them was the car owner or a victim in all of this. The watch commander tells me that both the people in the car are suspects. This was a carjacking that happened at a gas station in Linwood about an hour ago.
Do you see that reflection? It kind of looks like it's on the driver's side of the car there. It's either maybe a cell phone or an iPad or something. Do you see that there on the side there, Mike?
Wow. Yeah, I do. And I can't tell if it's That's kind of strange. Took off, and the CHP's not getting too close behind him. But I can't tell if that's
just a
reflection of the light off the window from that one patrol car. Looked like he had one of the floodlights on the front left of the car, maybe trying to see in. So I don't know if that created a reflection, but real dangerous. High speeds and blacked out.
High speeds, no headlights, obviously not even tapping the brakes because you can see just how dark it is. 710 southbound now in North Long Beach. Of course, eventually he's going to get into the Long Beach area there, and eventually the 710 basically dead ends in the city of Long Beach. So he'll be forced to stay on surface streets for the time being. So we're going to have to figure out and wait to see. Linwood from Long Beach, not too far a distance, but I have to see here that this driver basically lights off, CHP behind him, and as Mike was saying, the two people inside the car, both suspects in this armed carjacking in Linwood. What the weapon was, we still do not know, and it looks like, you know, Desmond, as we head closer into Long Beach, we get closer to the port, it looks like traffic's getting a little heavier here, maybe?
We're definitely going to start to see more of the truckers headed down towards the ports, no doubt about that. We're going to lose a lane or two as well, so that may complicate things. It was the most aggressive maneuver by far that we've seen, getting on the right-hand shoulder to get away and then speeding away, and definitely put some distance between them and CHP for at least a little bit, and then looked like even the helicopter was a bit surprised and didn't have the spotlight on the suspect. So hand out the window, might be given half a peace sign there.
I was going to say, is that the middle finger?
What I think that was. I think so.
It sure looked like it,
that's what
Desmond,
we had there. So, yeah, a little added defiance there from the suspect, from the passenger side coming off there. So that's definitely not going to make CHP too happy, but we'll see. Continuing southbound on the 710, right? It's either going to take us into downtown Long Beach or to the ports, or could cross the ports over to the LA side and over the Gerald Desmond and the Vincent Thomas bridges. If they decide to stick with this one. They were over to the right-hand side like they were going to exit Alondra, that did that kind of typical maneuver where they cut back at the last second. That never really works for these suspects. I mean, CHP is right there. They have, you know, pretty lightning-quick reflexes with all this. As we're passing the 405, let's see if he's going to try another last-second maneuver or actually stick with the southbound 710, and they are sticking with it. A couple more trucks there, as you mentioned. So we're now committed. We are now officially in the city of Long Beach, and is going to run out of asphalt eventually if they stay here on the 710.
And just like you said, Desmond, we can tell there just the narrowing of lanes. We've lost a lane or two there. 4 or 5 lanes here on the 710 southbound heading into Long Beach, Mike.
Yeah, and CHP, not that we're at speeds that are anywhere acceptable for this, but they did kind of talk about pit maneuvers if we ever got down to those speeds. The sergeant, the CHP sergeant, denied the use of a pit because of the fact that they are armed. And that's what we talk about sometimes. They don't want to, when you do a pit maneuver, the idea is to spin them around, but when you spin them around, they end up facing the officers.
And if they're armed.
And if they're armed, that's an officer safety issue. So the sergeant has denied the use of a pit maneuver, and again, not that we'd be able to do them at these speeds anyway, but if they get into that situation, the sergeant doesn't want them to do it.
And also we have a passenger who's basically taunting officers, right, giving them the middle finger, like, come on, you know, come get us. That even increases. Here we have the replay again from earlier on the right side of your screen. This is when we first saw a hand kind of sticking out. We saw a head sticking out from the passenger side of the car. Not sure exactly if they were trying to signal to officers what was going on. And he did it one more time, Mike.
Yeah, just listening to some more radio traffic. Apparently this car has been moving for at least 2 hours. So the sheriff's airship just let the CHP units know there's a real possibility that these guys may run out of gas soon.
Okay.
And they want officers to be ready in case they get out and run on foot. And Juan, there's that glare you were talking about. And I
see it again?
Yeah, and you're right. I can't tell if they're on some sort of a device, a tablet, or
there
a
it is.
phone.
Look.
Yeah. Does that look like a reflection to you, or what kind of looks like a reflection almost?
Yeah, it is kind of weird, isn't it? I think it is a reflection. But interesting that this car's been going for so long. I think this is a Nissan Maxima or an Altima. Kind of a middle-of-the-road car as far as fuel economy goes. And they haven't been driving super, super fast. But, you know, if they didn't have, you know, more than a half a tank of gas, they've been going for a couple of hours, then they certainly could be running it down, you know, close to empty at this point, which would certainly be good for CHP. So, like you said, they definitely want to be right behind the suspect to be ready for anything if they do decide to get out and run. And, you know, now that we're going down, so we are going towards downtown Long Beach. I believe that's where these lanes are going to take us. If he would have stayed to the right, would have gone towards the ports. This will go towards downtown and the aquarium there you saw on the sign. So we'll see here. We're going to have a couple of tall buildings, of course, to navigate around, but first time that we've been on this one on surface streets. We know that they were briefly on surface streets around LAX, and they kind of did a little do-si-do there before they picked back up the eastbound 105 away from the airport. East 105, South 710 now getting off of the freeway in downtown Long Beach, and so we'll see if there's any thought about spike strips or something like that. We already talked about how it doesn't sound like they're interested in doing a pit maneuver on this, but you know, since we haven't had super crazy driving, maybe this would be an opportunity for some spike strips if they want to get in with that. We will see.
Des, real quick, is the passenger out the window again?
Go ahead. They are halfway out the window. Yeah.
Wow.
It looked like maybe he had his phone.
Yeah.
Like maybe he was taking a selfie with the red blue lights there in the back. Not sure. I mean, we know that we've definitely had some suspects live streaming pursuits before on Instagram. A very unfortunately, increasingly common occurrence, I would say. So I think we're actually going towards the cruise terminals right now. So over by the Queen Mary and the old Spruce Goose hangar, it looks like that's where we're going to be headed. So we'll see here as we come out behind these tall buildings right here. I believe that's going to dead end though if they continue going this way. So this might get pretty interesting.
Yeah, and
actually no. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, Sheriff's Department's there. They've got 2 helicopters, I think I heard you mention, and they're making a U-turn to come back northbound. But the Sheriff's Department is there, and there's that passenger again. Look at that, yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, way out the window.
I mean, dangerous, to say the least.
Half his body out the window.
Yeah.
And you know what? Pat Harvey here with Chauncey Glover, Desmond Shaw, Mike Rogers, of course. We're about to start KCAL News at 10. And we've been watching this pursuit as well, along with Juan Fernandez, who was here for the 9 o'clock. This is an armed carjacking suspect. And it's just interesting to see this passenger lean out the window, possibly take pictures. I think, Desmond, you so succinctly said before that they were showing half of a peace sign. To law enforcement or possibly to other helicopters above. So you've been on this for quite some time now. CHP had been following on. I picked it up at the 105 and then the 710 southbound, and now they are on Shoreline Drive in downtown Long Beach, right?
Yeah, we might be headed back towards the 710 here, but just totally ridiculous behavior here. I mean, more than half their body out the window. You saw it looked like they had their phone recording some of this, recording the police, probably recording themselves, back out the window again. Just super, super dangerous. I mean, what is the point of any of this? This isn't the first time we've seen this. I'm sure it won't be the last, but that doesn't make it any more absurd and dangerous. If this, you know, yeah, I mean, if this guy hits the brakes or swerves or something, his friend's going to go out the window, and that is going to be a very unfortunate ending for them. So absolutely insane. And it looks like we are getting back on the 710 freeway here. So 70 miles an hour with half your body out the window. I mean,
all right, well,
what can you say?
They just jumped back in. But, you know, what could that possibly, doesn't that add to the charge of what they've already been, carjacking, of course, felony evading?
Yeah.
And this is certainly reckless.
Yeah.
Driving, a number of things. So
just dumb.
Okay, dumb. There should be a charge for that.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at, guys, is just adding up the time that you will be spending possibly behind bars for something like this, even though you think this might be your last hurrah before you go to jail.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of times we see these passengers that try to, you know, do this wasn't me, I was just in the car, you know, kind of thing.
Not this person.
Exactly. I mean, he's kind of giving himself away a little bit here. I mean, you know, I talked to the sheriff's lieutenant who told me that both the people in the car are suspects. So I don't think this person in the passenger seat is going to get away with, I was just along for the ride. The sheriffs are calling him a suspect as well. So obviously the driver is the one they're always most interested in because he's the driver, but the passenger is also being described as a suspect.
And Mike, police are saying that these suspects carjacked someone at a gas station?
Yeah, that happened in Linwood probably a little bit more than an hour ago now, according to the watch commander over at Sentry. They started this. They got there, were able to figure out, you know, who the suspects were and where the car was. I'm not sure if they were just in the area really quickly quickly or if they were able to use their helicopter to locate the car. But at any point, they were able to catch that car, tried to pull it over, and it just didn't work. Now, the watch commander tells me that the victims were not injured in this, which is good news. There was a weapon involved, but the watch commander couldn't tell me exactly what that weapon was. But, we've already heard CHP say that they're not going to do a pit maneuver here. Obviously, the speeds are too high right now, but if the speeds come down, they still won't do a pit maneuver because of the fact that they are supposed to be armed.
All right, Mike, and we want to remind our viewers you're watching KCAL News at 10, and we are in the middle of watching a pursuit, at one point really driving at higher speeds than we're looking at now, but traversing across a couple of freeways at least, and you've seen some pretty wild behavior. This guy is back out the car. Is this live right here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, he's hanging out the window, the passenger side of the car. Go ahead, Desmond. I mean, I thought once he was on the freeway that he sort of gave up that notion, but guess not.
Yeah, I mean, if this is just for, social media clout, I mean, I really don't understand it. But, yeah, I mean, he's sitting right on the windowsill of the vehicle. And, I mean, one wrong move on this, and that's it. You're going to fall out the window at 70 miles an hour. And, I mean, you're really risking your life doing something so stupid. So, if it's just clout chasing or what, it's, again, a very, unfortunately, common occurrence these days.
Yeah, live streaming.
A lot of these suspects like to post this kind of stuff on social media. Yeah, live streaming or posting reels or stuff on Twitter or whatever message groups they may belong in. I don't know, but it's just a very stupid and unfortunate thing to see, and CHP hates to see it as well, and it's not going to end well for these people. I would be curious to know, because this happened at a gas station, if this car actually was able to get any gas when all of this happened. Hopefully not, or hopefully not very much anyway. And we know that this car, as we've heard, has been going for a couple of hours. So hopefully there's just not a lot left for this, audacious behavior to continue here. Northbound, though, on the 710, so leaving the city of Long Beach again, kind of headed back up towards the scene of the crime, though. 105, 710 is the Linwood area, which would be right around where we had heard that this took place. Back off the freeway now at Del Amo, eastbound Del Amo. Let's see what the suspect's next move is going to be. They weren't off the freeway very long. In fact, both times we saw them off the freeway, it was basically just a U-turn and get back on the freeway. So let's see if that's what they're going to do. And again, it really just kind of seems like they're just trying to buy time. Not much of a serious attempt to get away. Almost seems like a sense of pride, like they're being chased. And then, the behavior of the passenger just really kind of seems to exacerbate that. So over the LA River and eastbound on Del Amo Boulevard.
And with that behavior, with that one suspect there on the passenger side hanging out of the window, you can't help but to think about last night's chase, which ended in a crash. And you just can't help but to think, what if something like that plays out here? This guy is putting himself in even more danger, Des.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what if the authorities get out there with spike strips set up, and then this guy's hanging out the window, and then the suspect all of a sudden tries to make that last-second maneuver to dodge the spike strips, and he falls out the window. Or last night, that suspect lost 2 tires without, we didn't see any spike strip on that, and lost a couple of tires and was having trouble controlling the vehicle there. So there are definitely a lot of factors. When you think about doing that, it looked to be a pretty young guy doing that. Haven't gotten too good of a look at the driver. We'll see if maybe we have a chance to do that while we're on this side of the suspect's car. This Nissan Maxima, I believe, a Maxima or an Altima.
With no lights on right now.
Not an expert on Nissans, but
lights on.
Yeah, pretty much no lights on for almost the duration of the pursuit. It just just the brake lights on when they hit the brakes. But yeah, they've been driving around with the lights off the whole time, just kind of adding to the danger here on Long Beach Boulevard.
They've remained in Long Beach for a minute. Would you say that, Des? Mike, you've been watching this for certainly longer. But it seems like they've been in this Long Beach area a little longer than they have. I know did this start in Compton, and they ended up in Long Beach, and now they're on Long Beach Boulevard. Yeah. Street maybe You know how we do. We think about what's the next move. Is there some kind of familiarity in the neighborhood?
Yeah, he started in Linwood, is where the chase started, and we're not far from Linwood. I mean, we're not in Linwood by any means, but we're not that far from it. Definitely, though, for sure, Pat, this is the longest he's been on surface streets. He pretty much quickly got onto the freeway, the 105, only on surface streets for a few minutes around LAX, while he got off the westbound 105 and then got back eastbound on the 105. But this is definitely the longest he's been on surface streets. Linwood's not far from Long Beach. Who knows if that's where they're from?
And the slowest. Look at the speed.
Yeah, now we're getting back on the freeway, though, right, Des?
Yep. Yeah, back on the freeway. I think we're headed back north on the 710, it looks like. So just a little diversion there. And we are creeping closer towards Linwood now at this point. I see Artesia Boulevard will be next, and then the 91 freeway. Looked like there was a little Caltrans zone that might be setting up here. Sticking to the right lanes, we'll make our transition to the 91. If he gets over one more, he'll stay on the 710. So we're going to be at that juncture pretty soon. Again, just not super high speeds. There were a couple of times where we saw triple digits. I mean, 100 miles an hour, but very, very briefly. Then back down to maybe 70, 65 miles an hour. Just very bizarre behavior. Out the window again, taking another video. Just really seeming to kind of revel in this attention, frankly. Here, this is, I mean, the fifth or sixth time now that we've seen this suspect doing this. Definitely, agitating CHP even more than they already are.
Yeah, and here in this social media age we're in these days, folks will do pretty much anything for views and likes. Mike, I want to ask you a question. Do we know any more information on the circumstances surrounding the carjacking? Did the victim call 911, or was it a case like last night where police ran that tag and it came back to a stolen car?
No, this was it's called a hot carjacking. It just happened. So it wasn't a plate situation. It was a 911 call that responded, pulling over to the side. We ran out of gas finally.
Yeah, you know what? I think they're having a tire problem.
Oh, there it is, front
I
left.
thought I saw some smoke coming from the tire. Yeah, yep, check it out.
Yeah.
And again, so we never heard about spike strips or anything, but kind of mysterious, just like last night, this sudden flat tire out of nowhere. And you see that the front driver's side tire is definitely compromised at this point. So, we did see some authorities that were set up on the south side of Long Beach Boulevard when they were pulled over, but I think that was a sheriff's vehicle. I saw it really briefly. It kind of crossed my mind. I was wondering if maybe they deployed a spike strip or something, but I didn't hear anything about that. But regardless, you can see this tire is just about done. And we'll see. This is exactly what I was talking about with this guy hanging out the window.
Oh no!
Door open.
He's trying to
is he
get
gonna
out
get out and run? Out and running.
Yeah.
Yep. Not such a big man now. So leaving the car and drive, and they are out and running down along the embankment here of the 710 near Alondra Boulevard. They've got to try to get this car shut off before it rolls onto the freeway. And so now you're going to have CHP stopping all lanes and officers getting down here kind of into the thick of it to try to find these suspects that unfortunately bailed under some tree cover and just widen out and get a lay of the land here. It looks like an industrial area, maybe a big container park or something like that. And boy, they are out and running, and they do not have eyes on these suspects, guys.
You say they do not?
There,
well,
go ahead. No, well, they did, but here we go. There's one. That's
look,
that's
yes,
the
they
one
do.
that
Yes,
was,
he's right on top of him.
Yeah.
Where are the canines? Are you going to run across the freeway? Well, you know what, guys? We've watched him hanging out the window. Oh, nice, finally.
Yeah.
I guess he's not live streaming that.
Before he risked his life anymore. Yeah.
Seriously.
So that was the really annoying one who was hanging half their body out the window and recording video. So they got them. That was the passenger. We see them. The other one had a black shirt on, which might kind of complicate things in this dark area. Getting some pretty good illumination. I think we have two law enforcement helicopters actually overhead on this one. And so that's good for, double the illumination. But as I widen out, they're kind of looking like they do not have that other suspect. So they might have split up. And again, as I'm showing you here, this container park, unfortunately, would be a really good place for a suspect to hide if there was a fence there that they were able to hop. But right now, they are still looking for the driver in this whole
and who is that? Do you see somebody, Des? Or maybe that's law enforcement, maybe. I thought I saw somebody with a black shirt.
And Des, it looks like the driver actually jumped out of the passenger side, right?
Yeah, they did. They both got bailed out of the passenger side of the vehicle, kind of weird, and then left the car in drive. So you had to have one officer go in and secure that vehicle, lest it go and roll into lanes of the freeway. So they have secured that vehicle here, but we still do not have the driver in custody. They just happened to bail in an area that had an unusual amount of tree cover here on the side of the 710. Now you can see we've already got officers here, so that's the LA River right there, and there's enough space there for an officer to go drive down. So they're going to try to seal off this area to limit the access to where these suspects can get. But this was frankly just a pretty fortuitous area for them to lose control of the vehicle and bail. Most of the 710, you're just going to have empty embankments without much tree cover or anything. And this one section just happened to be an area where there are a lot of places to hide if they are able to get over that fence right there.
We see a lot of traffic backed up on the freeway there because of this. And I mentioned, you see any K9 units on the way, Desmond? Mike, because of they don't seem to have this person in custody right now, and it could take a while for them to actually find him. They could sniff him out.
Yeah, I haven't heard any on the radio yet. I do know Air 29, or 24, which is one of the ships up there, has a FLIR, which they're trying to get a heat source on the guy. And they did at one point, but they've lost the heat source. So, it sounds like they're still talking about it. And, those I was just looking at Des's shot, those containers right there, too, is going to make it hard. If he's able to get in between those, that's going to be difficult for him. Northbound 710 south of Alondra, Des, this driver's in custody.
Well, they got him.
That's what they just said. Northbound 710 south of Alondra.
Okay, that's where we are here. That is the Alondra exit right where this ended. So they must have, I guess that maybe that suspect wasn't able to make it over that fence right there. We'll see if we see that suspect, the driver with the black shirt, coming out of the area. I still see these guys out here right now kind of combing around, maybe looking for a weapon or something. We had heard that the suspect was armed, and again, this would have been, frankly, just a good place to toss a weapon as well. So that may be what they're looking for if they have that driver in custody, but we have not seen them brought out here from behind that cover.
And it makes you wonder if that first suspect that jumped out, the guy in the white shirt, he was over here on the side of the road, but I guess he couldn't jump the fence either, but immediately ran back towards the freeway and then just gave up there. So I wonder where the second suspect is, the driver.
Well, I'll tell you what, Desmond, Mike, we're going to just move on to other news, and I'm sure Des will come back to your shot if we get this guy coming out and being placed in a patrol car. But according to Mike, your sources say that they do have the driver in custody.
And they just put out the code 4.
Okay, code 4. All right, Des, Mike, thank you.